Hello everybody, welcome to celloprofessor.com. This is my YouTube channel. My name is Jamie Fiste. I teach cello at Central Michigan University. Thanks for watching. This video is an update on a previous video I had posted in 2008 on left hand rotation. All right, what is rotation here? Well, here's how it basically looks. You can see that there's a rotational movement in the forearm, pronating and supinating. Pronating is to turn your hands this way, backs of your hands together. Supinating is this way. It's sort of like holding a cup of soup. So there's a pronating and supinating action in this particular technique that goes like this. Right, that's the rotation. So the fingers will be striking the string at different angles. Let me show you what this looks like here. I'll play you a couple of things here. How about just a little Tarantella by Squire? It's easy to see there. Something like that. Or, for example, the suite to the Bach Suite number 3 prelude. Okay, so you probably see that rotational movement happening. What are some advantages to this? Well, I'll just name a couple of them. It becomes more clear, the advantages, as we get into the technique, but I'm just going to throw two out there. Number one, it reduces the work in the flexor muscles and tendons of the forearm and also the extensor side of the forearm. Basically, you're transferring work that would normally be like this to the arm. Let me show you. I literally can bring my fingers to the string and away from the string without doing anything like this if I really want to. See that? Just by changing the angle, just by rolling my hand, I can do this. Okay? Second, you're able to balance the hand. All right, this is particularly helpful for vibrato. So for example, if I'm vibrating on my first finger, when I'm a little bit more pronated, see? Look, if I just sort of make a 90-degree angle here at the pivot point, right, I have half the weight on one side and half the weight on the other. Second finger, you adjust the balance point. Third finger, we're not going to be able to totally balance because we have to do this, but we're going to be more supinated so that it's, close to a balance point. See that? So you can balance when you're vibrating. I'll try to keep my head back so you can see, right? You can see the change of angle of the fingers as I vibrato. So those are two huge advantages to it. So let's just quick break down the basic technique here. There are three main moving parts. All right, the first is the height of the elbow. So when I go, you see the elbow drop as I come to 4. So as you go to 4, it drops. As you come back to 1, it rises. So each finger, 1, the elbow's up, 2, it's a little lower, 3, it's a little lower, 4, it's lower, come back, goes up. See that? So that is in conjunction with moving part number 2. That is this sort of pronating action in the forearm. As my elbow comes up, I'm going to be more pronated this way. As I go to 4th finger, it's going to supinate this way. And then as I come back, it's going to pronate more. And as I go up, I should say, go up towards 4, it's going to supinate more. That's what creates that rotational motion. Now, I wanted to say something about how these two parts work together. So, what I want you to do is a little experiment. Hold your elbow up high and tell me how far can you pronate your hand, that is rotating it towards your first finger, and how far can you supinate it. So it looks like, for me, some people are going to have different amounts of flexibility here, but for me, the back of the hand can face forward, and I can almost get my palm facing forward as well, okay? What is halfway between those two extremes in the range of my motion? Right there. It's pronated, right? Now, drop your elbow all the way to its side. How far can you supinate? I can supinate much farther. I could only supinate this far with my elbow up, but when my elbow's down, I can actually face the ceiling. But I can't pronate as far. Here I could pronate that far. Here I can only pronate this far, like with my palm to the ground. So now, the furthest of my personal range of motion is with palm to the ground, which was in the middle of my range of motion here. So you can see the middle of the range of motion, what we would call the neutral position for the forearm, where it sort of defaults to, changes depending on the elbow height. So this goes with the hand balance, right? So when my elbow's up, it's going to be more pronated, and when I drop it, it'll supinate more. Like, it literally just kind of does that on its own, right? The pronating and supinating. So I can raise and lower my fingers with very, very little effort. I mean, basically just dropping the elbow and raising it. See that? It's kind of rather remarkable. Okay, and by the way, just to give credit where credit's due, I'm very influenced by my teacher, Lorraine Laufman, who studied with Starker on this topic, and also Gerhard Mantel's book, Cello Technique. Starker also does the foreword to that. Mantel's a very famous German cellist and teacher, but very influenced by those two sources. Okay, so there we go. That's how those two work together. Then the third moving part is the thumb, and this is mainly for slower playing, but make sure I'm in the center. There we go. So when I'm vibrating on one, my thumb's going to be by first finger because this is near the pivot point, right? If I keep it by two, I'm inhibiting my range of motion quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to bring it to one, and I have much more freedom of motion. But then when I go to four, my thumb's going to come up across from two. See that? In fact, this is a great exercise. Can you see it? Okay. Let me see if you can see it. Okay, yeah. I could probably even move in a little closer here so you can really see this. Then when I go to two, it comes up a little bit. Three, it comes up. Four, it's by two. Back down. So, my hand is balanced here, right? By pronating. My hand is balanced for vibrato, and then second finger, I'm going to change the balance a little bit. Three, I'm going to change the angle so I can balance 3 and 4. So we have some hand rebalancing going on here, folks. All right, it's very, very handy. Let's say I wanted to move a piano. So here we go. Let's say this is a piano, and so here's the balance point. Say this is like a 2x4 or something where my finger is. If a piano were balanced this way, I probably could move it with very little effort, and pianos are very heavy. If the piano were out of balance, like the 2x4 is over here, it would be very hard to move, would it not, right? So objects that are balanced are much easier to move than ones that are out of balance. So what we're trying to do is this with vibrato, right? We're trying to be balanced. Equal weight on both sides of the pivot point. If we're out of balance like this, see, all of the weight is on that side of the finger. That's sort of like moving the piano like this. Okay, it's harder. It's harder for the arm. This is much easier. Much less work, I think. So we're going for hand balance, and also we're going for minimal work in raising and lowering the fingers. Yeah. See, I barely have to do anything. In fact, when students first learn this, they're often still trying to use all this movement in the digits of their fingers. And it's like, you don't have to do that much motion anymore in your fingers. You can just let your arm do it. Bring your fingers to the string with the arm, and bring your fingers away from the string with your arm. But it's very important you have the elbow going up and down while you do this. I want to do a presentation at a conference sometime and call it, "Don't play the cello with your fingers," just as an attention getter. You know what I mean? And talk about this hand rotation. Because really, you hardly have to do any work. Sometimes I like to challenge students to this little exercise here. So what they would do is, we'll take, let's say, 1, 2, and 4. And, they'll come in and they have a fixed hand position, and they'll sort of like just do it all with their fingers, and I'll do it with rotation. And we'll see who can last the longest. I still have yet, all right, a student who has the fixed hand to last longer. So I'm really not, I feel like I'm doing so little work when I do that with my forearm. Okay, so that's basically hand rotation. I mean, there are a variety of exercises you can do for this. I mean, I like to practice this. I have my students practice it with just finger patterns. 1, 2, 4. Readjusting with vibrato. Readjusting the balance point. But even before that, a lot of times I'll have them just start with 1 and 4. First on each string, and then from there go into practicing just patterns, and then try 1, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 4 with the stretch. Just practice balancing. And then start making them a little faster, like my thumb is still moving at this point. Pick it up. Now I'm leaving my thumb by first finger as it starts getting faster, right? There's no time to be moving it around. If your hand's a little smaller, you may need to move it a little bit up towards second, but I don't recommend keeping it by 2 while you're playing fast. The neutral position for the thumb is much closer to 1. In fact, it's probably a little bit behind 1, right? So if you feel the muscle when your thumb is by 1, it's much more relaxed than it is by 2. And it starts to get really like a rock when you get it to the pinky or the third finger, right? So, and when the thumb is tight, the hand gets tight. Try this little exercise. Take your left thumb, plant it into the palm of your right thumb, and push. Now, try to move your fingers in your left hand while you're pushing with your thumb, right? It's much harder to move them fast. That tension here just seems to spread to the hand, right? Then don't use any thumb at all. Just relax it and move your fingers. This fast playing is basically controlled finger wiggling anyway, right? Controlled finger wiggling. So we don't want to have a tense thumb. So having it by 1 when you're doing the fast hand rotation, I think is much preferable. And so on. So on each string, I'll have students practice it fast and slow, just to sort of get used to how that works. And of course, when you're playing it quickly, there's less hand rotation than when you're doing all out vibrato. The change is bigger. Here, it's much smaller. And so on. Notice there's even a little change between 3 and 4. This all takes time, folks. And if your teacher does it a different way, then just do it the way your teacher does it. All right, you pretty much need a teacher that uses this particular technique, to help you work through all of the difficulties, because these 3 moving parts all have to coordinate together very well for it to work. But at least this gives you a little introduction to it. Maybe you want to pursue it, think about it a little bit. I would start slow. Just practice rebalancing your hand in a slow way, and then go from there. That's how I usually do it with my students. In fact, I usually start with just the thumb. Just have the student practice moving the thumb around. So when they're vibrating on 1, no matter what angle their hand happens to be, just vibrate at 1. They could be more this way. And then when it's on 4, moving it up. So I just start with that one moving part. Then after that, I'll start introducing the elbow height and the change of pronating and supinating, and go from there. That's how I typically do it. So there you go. There's a little introduction to hand rotation, folks. All right, hand rebalancing. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. I think I covered everything I wanted to. If I didn't, then, well, I have an idea for another video. So that's probably enough for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care, folks.